Hey guys, welcome to my newest video for today. For today's video I'm going to be doing my December 2017 movie wrap-up. So this covers the movies that I watched throughout the month, whether it be via the cinema, my own collection, Netflix, Stan, streaming services, or via iTunes. So I'm just going to get straight into it, and starting off on the 1st of December I watched the movie that I watch every year to kickstart my Christmas movie watching, and that is the Muppet Christmas Carol, which is my all-time favorite Christmas movie. I love this movie so much. It's 5 out of 5 stars. I can never get tired of it. I've loved this ever since I saw it back at the cinema, way back whenever it was released in Australia, because that was my first actual cinema trip as far as I can recall, or it's one of the very earliest ones that I remember seeing. But yeah, I've always loved this movie, so it's one that I have to start off like the Christmas movie viewing. So so the Muppet Christmas Carol is the first movie I watched in December, and then I also watched Everything, which was released earlier this year, but I don't think it got a very wide release here in Australia, because I don't really remember it seeing it advertised as much. I have read the book. I read that earlier in the year because I was curious to watch the movie, but yeah, it finally hit iTunes, so I decided just to rent it, and I actually quite enjoyed it, because yeah, I sort of liked how they actually adapted like parts of the book, because a lot of it's told like through text messages and emails and things like that. So I thought how they worked around that was actually done really well. I did know the twist going in, since I've read the book, but yeah, I thought this was actually a pretty decent adaptation, so I ended up giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Then another Christmas viewing, The Polar Express. Yeah, I always enjoy watching this one over Christmas, because it's sort of become an annual Christmas viewing for film for me, because yeah, I don't know, I just really like it. I think it's just a cute animated film. It's like sort of like about believing, and yeah, I just always sort of like the train journey, and yeah, I just always have a lot of fun with this one, so it's 4.5 out of 5 stars. Then I watched Lone Survivor. This was one I watched on Netflix, so I've sort of been curious to check this one out, because it's always one I sort of like, when I look through, say if I'm in a mood for an action film, I sort of go through it, and then I always like see it there, and I thought, you know what, I'm finally going to sit down and watch it, and I actually thought it was pretty decent. I was actually rather pleasantly surprised by how much I did end up liking this one. I thought yeah, Mark Wahlberg did a really good job with this, and yeah, I just thought it was sort of yeah, because I haven't seen too many Afghanistan like military films, so I thought this one was quite good. So yeah, so hopefully like other ones that I watch will be as good as this one, because yeah, because I think I've said it before, I haven't been a huge fan of like Iraq military films, like the Hurt Locker, American Sniper. I haven't been a fan of those ones, but I did actually like Lone Survivor, so I don't know what that says, whether it's like, or maybe it's I just don't like Iraq war films, but I did like Lone Survivor, so, and that's like more like of a modern military film, so but yeah, so I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars. Then I rewatched Holiday Inn, which again is another well, I wouldn't say Christmas film, because it focuses on all the holidays, but it does start and finishes at Christmas time, so I do include it when I sort of rewatch Christmas films. But yeah, I always do like this one, even if Fred Astaire's character is really annoying. I always yeah, it's just, each time I watch it I'm like, yeah, I don't know, I just don't like his character in this. It's sort of, he's just so like obnoxious, and it's sort of I mean, I know obviously it's a different time period, but yeah, I just don't like his character, but I do like the songs in this movie, and yeah, other than that, I do quite enjoy this film, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And then I watched The Disaster Artist. I saw this one at the cinema. I went into this without ever seeing The Room, but obviously I'm well aware of its reputation, but I've sort of been curious about this one, so, because like, you know, obviously I know all this, like with all the references that everyone makes to The Room, and I thought, yeah, it just seemed like it would be an interesting film, and I actually quite enjoyed it. It wasn't, like, I didn't feel lost at all. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's probably references that people who have seen The Room would have gotten, but I actually, yeah, quite enjoyed it. I actually thought James Franco did a really good job playing Tommy, what's his name? How do you pronounce his name? I can't pronounce his surname, but yeah, but the main like guy in the film, I thought he was really did a really good job with that. So but yeah, overall I thought yeah, it's quite funny, and I sort of liked the behind the scenes of like when they were making the movie, and yeah, and like with the recreation of the actual scenes that they did. And I will actually say one thing that I sort of noticed with when they had the sort of comparisons to the actors and the real life people that they portrayed. The only one that sort of stood out for me was with the casting, because everyone else looked virtually spot on, but Jackie Weaver's character looks nothing like the character she played, like the real life version of the character she played, and that sort of was quite jarring, sort of seeing it, because everyone else was like virtually a mirror image, but then yeah, Jackie Weaver, I mean at least she's not in it for that long, but I thought it was sort of interesting because it's like everyone else looks almost identical to the person that that they were portraying, but Jackie Weaver's yeah, her character wasn't yeah, didn't look anything like her real life counterpart. So, and anyway, so I watched that, and then another annual Christmas rewatch was After Christmas, which I just think this is such again another cute animated film. It's sort of like, you know, Arthur's journey to try and make sure that child gets, you know, a Christmas present, so she's not the only child without a present when it's left behind. And yeah, I just think this is such a fun movie, and I always love like rewatching this. So After Christmas gets 4 out of 5 stars. And then a first time viewing was for me was A Ghost Story, which I watched on iTunes, and I didn't know too much about this going in, just that it was basically following like Casey Affleck's character, who was like dressed in a white sheet for pretty much the majority of the movie, and I thought that was actually quite interesting. It's very, yeah, because it's a very atmospheric film, as you can probably imagine, like with, you know, the title A Ghost Story, but it's sort of yeah, it's sort of an interesting journey, sort of going from like how the character got in the position that he was in, and then sort of, you know, what happens after, and about, you know, like letting go. And I thought that it was very subtle, and I actually, yeah, quite ended up enjoying this one, so I gave A Ghost Story 4 out of 5 stars. And then I rewatched Captain Phillips, which I hadn't seen for a few years, but yeah, this is a really great film, because I mean, I did like it before when I watched it, because I've seen it a couple of times in the past, but I sort of rewatched it, and then I forgot just how tense it was. Like, even though I know what happens, it just sort of got there, and then I was just like, oh, okay, it's like, this is like just the build up and the tension, and it's like, that was done like so well, and Tom Hanks was amazing in this, and it's sort of hard to believe he didn't get nominated like for an Oscar for his role, because he was like really yeah, quite, as I said, quite amazing in this film, like with the character that he played. And yeah, I thought he did a good job in the like throughout the film. And yeah, just sort of watching it, and then like once he got to the like very end, like when the whole situation's being dealt with, and just sort of that like breakdown, I thought was like that was, yeah, that's quite like really good acting in that. And it sort of, I mean, I know the year this was made, there was quite a lot of really good performances, but I would have thought yeah, Tom Hanks would have been nominated for this one. But anyway, I really still quite enjoyed this film, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then a first time Christmas viewing watch was Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. I watched this on Netflix because I thought, you know what, this will be, you know, a cute, light-hearted Christmas film, and I got exactly that. It was sort of like, yeah, just really, you know, cute Christmas film, and basically it's sort of following 3 different storylines. So you sort of have you've got Donald Duck and his, I think they're his nephews, I'm pretty sure, like is sort of you sort of see them celebrating Christmas, and then it's sort of, they want it to be Christmas every single day, and they end up getting the wish, and then they sort of realize over and over that, you know, okay, yeah, Christmas is fun, but it's better if it's like once a year. And they sort of slowly begin to understand like the actual meaning of Christmas is not, you know, about the, you know, toys and you know, playing, and that is like, you know, about family. And I thought, yeah, that was quite cute, and it was actually my favourite of the segments that they did. And then there was one with a Goofy and I think his son, yeah, and it's sort of like about believing in Santa Claus, and so that was sort of that whole segment. And then at the end it was like Mickey and Minnie, and they're trying to get the perfect gift for each other, but they're both like really poor. And yeah, I just overall thought this was, yeah, quite cute, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And then I ended up also rewatching Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit. I've sort of been in the mood to watch Keira Knightley films, because I watched Begin Again, I think back in October, and I absolutely loved that movie. And so now I've sort of been wanting to go back and revisit her like film catalogue, and I wanted to watch yeah, the Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit. I mean, it's not a perfect movie, but I just had a lot of fun watching it. So so yeah, it's sort of, you know, it's just very much one of those like leave your brain at the door type films. But I ended up giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And then another film that was the first time viewing was Baywatch, which I was sort of a bit apprehensive about going in, because I'd heard a lot of really mixed things. But my aunt was staying over a couple of weeks ago, and we decided to watch a movie, and I think everyone else wanted to watch Baywatch, so I thought, oh, what the hell, I sort of, at the time, because it sort of saved me from like renting it later. And I will say it ended up not being as bad as what I thought it would be, because like the first half was actually pretty terrible, like it was really bad acting. But as it got into the main storyline and the action, it did pick up a bit, and I enjoyed the second half a whole lot more than the first half. So like, I mean, I would probably give it a rewatch down the line, but it's yeah, it didn't end up being as bad as what I thought. So I ended up giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Then I rewatched This Is the End. I was just randomly in the mood for it. This is sort of one of my favourite like comedies, I guess you'd say, like out of the like past few years. But yeah, I just always enjoy it, like sort of, you know, like a post-apocalyptic like comedy, and like the surviving actors, and they've got to try and survive and figure out what the hell's going on. So yeah, I always enjoy this one, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And then I finally got to see Star Wars: The Last Jedi, which I know is very controversial right now, because I'm really surprised at how divisive this film is. Like, yes, I will acknowledge that it's not a perfect film, that there are issues with it, but I just had so much fun watching this movie. Like, it was 2.5 hours, and I could have easily watched another half hour. Like, if it was 3 hours, like, that would have suited me fine. So I'm definitely in one of the people, like, in the camp of I absolutely love this movie, so I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So yeah, and I think I definitely, like, I actually do prefer it to The Force Awakens, because I wasn't sure like, initially going in, but then yeah, I just loved this film, and yeah, I loved the new characters, and so yeah. I loved The Last Jedi. So and then I ended up rewatching Red. I was again in the mood to watch this. I mean, technically I could have counted this as a Christmas film because it is set during the festive period, but you know, it's just a lot of a fun action film with Bruce Willis. So it's yeah, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I do quite enjoy it. And then another rewatch was The Wiz. I meant to rewatch this one earlier in the year when I watched The Wizard of Oz, because I sort of like to watch those films sort of relatively close to each other. For an adaptation of The Wizard of Oz, I quite enjoy it, but I definitely prefer The Wizard of Oz more. So, but I do like the songs in The Wiz though. So, like, yeah, it's quite a different, because it's sort of hard to rate it, because it, like, you know, it's its own, like, it follows the same storyline of The Wizard of Oz, but it's sort of, like, obviously being adapted. It's like a Motown, I think, in probably, like, style musical. So I ended up giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars. So, but I do enjoy, like, watching it. So, and then I rewatched Home Alone, because it had been quite a few years since I've seen it. But yeah, it's sort of, you know, a fun Christmas film to put on, and it's I mean, it's not like one of my absolute favourite Christmas movies, but I do enjoy watching it. So I gave Home Alone 4 out of 5 stars. And then I rewatched Into the Storm. Yeah, it's, I don't know, I do enjoy, like, you know, like, natural disaster type movies, like, especially, like, in the vein of Twister. Like, I don't know, I'm just really fascinated by tornadoes, and I think this one is, like, quite a different, like, take. I like the documentary style that they've done in it. So I wouldn't say it's quite found footage, but it's sort of like but it's told, like, through interviews, and like there is a like the documentary team who are like the storm chasers who are following the storms and that. So yeah, it's a fun way to spend a couple, like, well, I think it's an hour and a half technically, but I still enjoy it. So I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And then on the 24th of December, I watched The Nightmare Before Christmas, which, I mean, it was a rewatch, because I watch this film now, like, every October and every December. So, and I can't believe I only saw this film for the first time last year. I just love this film so much. I love the songs. I love Jack Skellington. Yeah, it's a great holiday film, and I count it both as a Halloween and a Christmas film, so I can rewatch it twice. So, and of course I still give it 5 out of 5 stars. And then on Christmas Day, my brother and my mum and I ended up watching a couple of Christmas movies. So we watched The Santa Claus with Tim Allen, and it's been a couple of years since I've seen this one, but, you know, I actually had quite a fun time watching this, sort of, like, with the, like, how he's got to become Santa Claus because he, you know, accidentally killed, like, the Santa at the start of the film, and sort of just all the hijinks that follow, and, you know, everyone thinks he's going crazy. And yeah, and also one thing I didn't realise, but the actor who played Charlie on Numbers is in the Santa Claus. I thought, because I saw his name come up on the credits, and I thought, oh wow, I didn't realize he was in this movie. But he played, I think it's like the head elf. I think that's, I can't remember the character's name, but he plays the head elf in that film. So, yeah, it was a fun, but the Santa Claus was a fun film, and gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And another movie that we watched that I haven't seen for a couple of years, and that was the 1994 Miracle on 34th Street with Mara Wilson. And yeah, this is just a really charming film about, you know, believing in Santa Claus, and which ironically, actually both films that we watched, but part of the central theme was believing in Santa Claus. So I thought that was quite interesting, and they also both came out in 1994. So yeah, so that was sort of, it wasn't planned that way, but because, yeah, my brother wanted to watch Santa Claus, and then Mum really likes the remake to Miracle on 34th Street, so we ended up watching that. And but yeah, I always do enjoy watching this. I still need to watch the original Miracle on 34th Street, but maybe this year I'll finally get around to watching it. But anyway, I gave Miracle on 34th Street 4 out of 5 stars. And then I have 2 first-time viewings that I watched via iTunes, and the first is The Lost City of Zed, which I was really looking forward to because I thought it would be this sort of great adventure exploring the South American jungle. I mean, I knew it was based on a true story, like, because the explorer, like, I knew eventually, like, what happened to the explorer, and there's a great mystery surrounding it. But I haven't read the book that the movie was based on, and to be honest, after I watched this, I have no desire really to actually go and read that, which is kind of disappointing because I was watching this, and 45 minutes into the movie, I'm like, nothing has happened. And you would have thought for a film about exploring new places, and that it would be a lot more exciting than it was, and it was a bit of a letdown. So I did prefer the second half, like when he's actually trying to find this mythical city, and I thought that part was more entertaining. But yeah, the first half was just, like, if I sort of was the kind of person to turn movies off, I probably would have switched it off about 45 minutes in, because it was like really boring, and I ended up only giving it like a 3 out of 5 stars. So I was, yeah, kind of disappointed because I was looking forward to watching this, and it didn't live up. So, but luckily the next film that I watched, I ended up enjoying a lot more than what I thought I would, and that was American Assassin, with Dylan O'Brien, I think his name, the guy who's in Teen Wolf, and it also had like Michael Keaton in it as well. Because when I saw the synopsis initially for this, I thought, like, it just seemed like a very generic, you know, guy loses, you know, love of his life, and then he seeks revenge type movie, and I thought, it's probably just another, you know, generic action film. So I thought, like, I wasn't in a major hurry to go see it, but I started watching it, and then I actually, yeah, ended up quite enjoying it. It was, it just went a lot, I mean, yeah, the premise isn't very original, but it's ended up being a lot more entertaining than what I thought it would be. And I did actually like Michael Keaton's character in this. I thought he was, yeah, I sort of liked the clash of personality type, I guess, yeah, like you sort of got, like with the instructor and the student, and I thought that was I liked that dynamic. And yeah, so it ended up, as I said, enjoying this a lot more than what I thought I would, so I ended up giving American Assassin 4 out of 5 stars. And then I have, the rest of the movies I watched are rewatches. So I rewatched Sully, which, if you saw my DVD Blu-ray update, I recently picked up, so I'm trying to work my way through the films that I picked up recently. And yeah, I still really do enjoy it, and like enjoy this film. I haven't seen it since I saw it at the cinema, but I sort of find it interesting that they actually started like right when the hearings are beginning, sort of like when they're doing their initial investigation. So I thought it was a change instead of doing it from, you know, the moment of the crash in the Hudson. You normally have your typical, oh, the plane's going to crash and then it's going to follow on from there. But it was, yeah, I sort of found it interesting with all the different time jumps that they did. But as usual, you know, Tom Hanks is again amazing in this. And one thing that I didn't I forgot was that this took the events of the movie actually took place in January 2009, and the events of Captain Phillips took place, I think that was between June and August 2009. So Tom Hanks has played two characters based on real life people where the events took place in 2009. So I thought that was actually quite interesting, but I'm probably the only one who thought so. But yeah, so I watched that, and then I also rewatched The Age of Adaline, which you know, it's not a terrific movie or anything, but I always I don't know, I really liked it when I first saw it, and I sort of liked Blake Lively in this, and just sort of seeing the narration style of how they set up everything to sort of explain why, you know, her character didn't age anymore, and sort of seeing her cope with that as, you know, people that she knew grows old around her. And yeah, I just thought yeah, I thought this is quite a different type of well, it's not really sci-fi as such, but there are sci-fi elements to it, because there's sort of as to why she stopped aging. But it's yeah, I still quite like it. I do enjoy the relationship she had with the main love interest, who I can't remember his name, but then it's also, of course, Harrison Ford plays the father of the boyfriend, and I thought, who also has a history with Adaline, and I thought that was quite an interesting dynamic as well. But yeah, as I said, do really enjoy Age of Adaline, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And then on New Year's Eve, I ended up rewatching If I Stay, which is based on the book by Gail Forman, which I read a couple of years ago, and because I've read both If I Stay and Where She Went, and I quite enjoy both of those books. The movie adaptation's okay, but it's sort of, they did leave out quite a few parts that actually, with the character development, especially between the friend and Mia, and they left out so much of that history in the scene, and it's if she didn't have the connection to Mia, she'd be just yeah, it's sort of really weird how much they left out of that. And the book's not very long, and sort of you'd think they'd be able to include just some behind the scenes, how they became friends, because so much of it is spent with Mia and the boyfriend, and rather than Mia and the friend. And because it's sort of in the book we do see her relationships, and, you know, as she's deciding whether or not if she's going to stay after, you know, she's in the car crash that kills her her family. And so yeah, it's sort of interesting to sort of see how much they did leave out of the book. But I mean, for a book to movie adaptation, you know, it's decent enough, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. So I don't dislike it, but there's more that I wish they would have included in the actual movie. So, and then on the 31st of December, my last film of 2017 that I watched was The Day the Earth Stood Still, which the original 1951 sci-fi classic, and it had been a few years since I've seen it, so I thought, you know what, I'm in the mood to watch this, because I had I think an hour and a half left or something, so I just managed to squeeze it in to finish off the to the new, before 2018. But I did, yeah, I always quite enjoy The Day the Earth Stood Still. I've never seen the remake with, from 2008, but I don't really have any desire to watch it. I mean, I may check it out at one point down the road, but it's not a high priority for me. But yeah, I do quite enjoy The Day the Earth Stood Still, and it's sort of like interesting watching, you know, a film from like the 1950s, like a sci-fi film from the 1950s, like compared to today's like big action, like blockbusters and that sort of thing, like because these films are really quite minimal, and I think that makes it more effective, especially you know, seeing everyone's reaction to the spaceship for the first time, and sort of all the heightened tensions and that, like which I think was actually, yeah, quite well done. And yeah, I sort of glad I sort of went and rewatched it. So and I gave The Day the Earth Stood Still 4 out of 5 stars. So there we have it. That is everything that I watched in December 2017. My viewings were a bit all over the place because I sort of hit a really weird, like, creative slump, I guess you could say, where I didn't feel like watching anything, I didn't feel like reading anything, and yeah, so I think that's sort of why I went all over the place with what I was watching. And that's I know I was initially doing like the whole rewatch a movie, then watch a movie I've seen for the first time. That kind of went out the window this past month. I'm gonna see if I can try and pick it up again in January, depending on how my, you know, what my viewing habits are like. But anyway, so I'm just gonna stop it here. So thank you guys for watching, and until my next video, I will see you guys next time. Bye.